So today is the day. Today is the day that Judge Claudia Wilken from the Northern District of California will hear the final settlement hearing in the proposed House settlement. Now, a lot of people have asked, what does that exactly mean? Well, let me just be clear. We are not going to have a final decision from the judge today. Today is going to be a day filled with hearing testimony from various objectors, people, organizations, groups who are objecting to the proposed settlement that's been reached between the parties. So what is it that we're going to hear as it relates to these objectors? Well, they're really objecting around kind of the four main parts of this proposed settlement. And one of them is there are some objectors that have objected to the back pay amount, the $2.8 billion that is set to be paid to previous student athletes from 2016 through 2024. They say that that number should be calculated much higher. There are some objectors who have objected to the permissive revenue share going forward, saying that that actually should be a larger number, because if you recall, schools or this settlement has settled really around $20.5 million that a school would have to share in revenue share with their student athletes. And if you recall, the Alston case back in 2021 that paved the way for name, image, and likeness, it really got into the court's analysis around the fact that there should not be caps on student athletes and the benefits that they can receive. And so the fact that this $20.5 million is being discussed as a cap, some are objecting to that. There are others who are objecting to the roster limits. If you recall, in this proposed settlement, it sets the roster limits for each sport and increases the number of scholarships to that roster limit. So there are a lot of Olympic sports that have challenged this, saying that that has a negative impact on preferred walk-ons, on Olympic sports who are trying to continue to grow talent and grow development, especially in our U.S. Olympic opportunities. So there will be objectors around that. And then finally, Title IX. There are those who will object, saying that really analysis says that around 75% of these settlement numbers will go specifically to football, around 20% to men's and women's basketball, and then the remaining 5% split among other sports. And so there are numerous folks who have talked about the Title IX implications of that. Now, with that, it's interesting because from a federal presidential administration side of things, during the previous presidential administration, the Department of Education talked about how collectives should fall under Title IX when it relates to name, image, and likeness. The new current administration the Department of Education has said that it should not apply. And so it will be interesting to see what that looks like. So what can we expect today? Today, we're going to hear from these objectors throughout the day. Number one, we know that we're not going to have a decision from the judge approving the settlement or not approving the settlement today. That's number one. Number two, the judge can only accept in full or reject in full this proposed settlement. So she can't simply say, okay, we're going to strike these two parts of the settlement and go just with these remaining pieces. She has to either accept it in full or reject it in full. And then finally, what then happens next? Well, if she accepts it in full, then things will move forward and we'll go into this upcoming academic year of 2025-2026, and this settlement will go into effect. Revenue share will start. Student athletes who opt in will have the opportunity from a back pay perspective to start receiving their back pay payments for name, image, and likeness, and we'll move forward with this settlement. There might be some states that seek out some type of preliminary injunction to enjoin this settlement from going into effect, because there are some states that have talked about the disproportionate impact on some schools that this may have, because all schools in Division I, all conferences will be required to pony up, if you will, for that back pay amount. It goes beyond just the P4. So there are some potential challenges there. But if this were to get rejected, if the judge were to reject this settlement, then we'd be looking at going to trial. And in trial, that will take some time, and we'll see where that all kind of lands in trial. So a lot of information, a lot of things happening today, And in the coming days and weeks, when we actually hear this ruling, we'll be able to have a better understanding of what happens next.